Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be running you through how to operate your Ace bike display. Don't mind this here, this is one of our customers' new bikes, so we're just going to use their bike to show you, give you a bit of a rundown. But before I kick it off, I will say that in this video we're going to run through both the standard and the Pro and Demon color displays in the one video. So I'll kick it off with a standard display. Feel free to skip forward to, I'll put a timestamp in the video so you can skip through to the color display. But another thing to note, two things to note, is the first one being all of our bikes are limited to 250 watts standard for Australian regulations. You can unlock them if you like for off-road private property use only, but keep in mind by doing that, your bike is obviously going to be illegal to use on the streets. The second thing to note is that our batteries do have a built-in sleep mode. So when your bike has been turned off for more than an hour, your battery will go to sleep. So you will need to flick your battery on and off again to re-wake your bike before it will power on at the display. So with all that said, we'll kick off the video and we'll get stuck into the standard displays. Alright, so we're down here with our Series 3 Ace. We're going to make sure the bike battery is flicked to the on position. And you can see here, obviously we've got a battery indicator as well, so we can check the battery level on the fly. You can, if you like, charge the battery in or out of the bike, but it's probably going to be easier to charge it out of the bike. It's going to be a bit easier to get the charging port in. Okay, so we're going to turn our bike on here just by holding the power button, of course. And as you can see, we've got our plus and minus and mode buttons. So you can use the mode button here by tapping that. We can cycle through our average speed, the max speed we've done, the current speed, your trip odometer, and so on and so on. By using the plus and minus, you can see we are increasing and decreasing the motor pedal assist levels. So obviously, you know, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and 0 means off, so we're going to have no pedal assist. If we hold the minus button, you can see we have engaged the walk mode, which will idle the bike up to about 6 k's, which is a handy little feature if you get to a hill or whatnot and you just need that extra punch to get you moving if you can't quite pedal. Alright, what else have we got? So we've also got the plus button here. Now if I hold the plus, before I do actually, we've obviously got our daytime running light, which is on by default at all times. And we've also got our headlight function by holding the plus button. You can see here our light has come on. And moving on, if we double tap our mode button, you can see this brings up the CR, which is clear, and basically that means yes or no. So by holding yes, we're going to clear our trip computer back to 0. Next one is kilometers to miles, so we can change between that. Backlight brightness, obviously 1 to 5, brighter or dimmer. Off. So essentially this means that 5 minutes of the bike being unused, the bike's going to turn off. So I'll just bring that back up. You can change that to more or less time if you like. ES, now this is your motor watt. Oops, sorry, I've gone one too far. So ES is essentially your motor watt output. Keep in mind, as I said earlier in the video, by changing a motor watt output is not legal to do so on public property. Unless you are in New South Wales, and the motor output can be 500 watts, so lucky you if you're in New South Wales. To my understanding, every other state is 250 watts. Now essentially you've got 250 watts or SPO Sport, and pretty much that will open your bike to the maximum output of your motor. So for argument's sake, if you have a 500 watt motor, SPO is going to open you to 500 watts. If you have a 750 watt bike, opening that is going to open you up to 750 watts, and so on and so on. Now keep in mind on 250 watt mode, your torque and things are going to be very heavily decreased for obvious reasons. Moving on, password is 1919, and that gets us into the remaining settings, which we have wheel diameter, which on the Aces is always going to be 22 inch to account for the width of the tyre also, hence why it's more than 20 inch. SL is speed limit. Now of course its default is 25 kilometers an hour. We can bump that up to whatever we like, but keep in mind if you put it up to 100 k's, your bike's still going to max out at say 38 k's for a 500 watt motor, or vice versa depending on what motor you have. If you have a 750 watt motor, that's generally around the 45. And if you have a 1000 watt motor, that's usually around somewhere around the 50k mark roughly. Okay, the next one is pedal assist. We've got 0 to 5, 0 to 9, or 0 to 3. That just adds more or less steps between your pedal assist modes. So currently we're on 0 to 5. If we change that to 0 to 9 and we double tap mode and exit out, all of a sudden now we have 9 levels of pedal assist. This doesn't make your bike any faster or slower, it just gives more gradual increments or more sharper increments between each power pedal assist level. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you've got any questions, feel free to let us know. The only other thing I would mention is, see this little exclamation mark icon here? That means that your brake sensors are active. So if that icon is on, that means your brakes are on, that means your motor will not go. It's a safety function, obviously. Other than that, the only other thing to mention is these new Series 3 bikes. They now have a built-in tail light. So when you turn your headlight on, your tail light will also come on. And then if you pull your brakes, you've also got brake light too. So if we turn the headlight off now, you can see our light goes out. But we still have a brake light function. So that's pretty cool for the 2024 series. But there you have it, guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to let us know. But let's jump into the pros and demons. Alright guys, so here we are with the pros and demons. Don't mind this bike. This customer has opted for a bunch of accessories that obviously aren't standard, but essentially don't forget the battery goes to sleep after generally around an hour, so we will need to make sure the bike is switched to the on position underneath here. We've obviously got our battery indicator level and our charging port up underneath, which you can charge in or out of the bike. It may be a lot easier to connect your charger by taking the battery out. And we've got this all new brake and tail light for 2024, which has 2 modes, which is great. For in the night time, your brake light's going to automatically illuminate. Your tail light's going to illuminate. And then obviously when you brake, you're going to get that extra beam as well. So now that we are on, we can come to our keypad here where we've got the power mode and plus and minus function. We're going to hold down the power button. And you can see for 2024 we have an all new revised design display, which I think looks pretty awesome. It's nice and clean and simple and straightforward. So to kick this off, we've obviously got our plus and minus here. You can see when I press the plus and minus, we're going up in pedal assist from no pedal assist to 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. We've also got our clock up the top here and our current voltage. You can also change that to battery percentage, which personally I like to do. I find it a bit easier to understand than voltage. You've got your motor watt output, your trip, and if we press the mode, we can cycle through to time, odometer, average speed, max speed, estimated range, and so on and so on. Now, by holding the minus button is going to idle the bike up to about 5 or 6 Ks here, which you can see. And that's just a handy little feature when you get to a hill or whatnot and you can't quite get your legs down to start pedaling. That just gives you a little bit of a kick to get moving, which is handy. Obviously the new 2024 series, the daytime running lamp is default on at all times, which is a safety function, so you can be seen throughout the day. Plus it also looks pretty cool in my opinion. Don't worry, it doesn't use a great deal of power, so it's not going to drain your battery too fast. Now if we hold the plus button, you can see we've turned our headlight on, which is our center beam here. And now if I double tap the mode button, we're going to enter the settings. Now most of these are pretty straightforward. I'm sure it makes a lot of sense. So obviously system, you've got metric or imperial. I won't dive too deep into some of these because I'm sure a lot of it's pretty straightforward. Brightness is obviously your display brightness. Auto off is essentially the amount of time and what your bike is inactive that it will go to sleep. USB port on or off. If you on the Pros and Demons, we've got this USB port up under here. It is a very low voltage one. It's not designed for charging phones and things. It's more or less for small LED lights and things, so to speak. The clock is obviously pretty straightforward. Scenes, you can change your display scene to modern or classic, and that just changes the design of your display. Moving back to e-bike, we've got start password, so you can set a code to unlock your bike. Keep in mind, if you forget that is a big problem. We cannot help you with that. It's basically a bit of a major. So if you set a password, do not forget it. Assist levels we can set from 3, 5 or 9. And if we change that to 5 or 9, that essentially gives us more gears in your display. So rather than having 5, you can go right up to 9, or you can change that to 3 if you like. Doesn't make your bike any faster or slower, however it does gives more steps in between each sort of pedal assist mode, I suppose. Sorry, I'll go back. So we were on e-bike. Wheel diameter is obvious. Don't change that, of course. It will throw your speedo out, and no, it will not make your bike faster by changing that. The reason we have it on 22 inch rather than 20 inch is because we have to account for the thickness of the tyre. Battery 48 volts, same again, we don't change that for obvious reasons. Battery indicator, as I was saying at the start of the video, that you've got, you can change that to percentage or voltage. And if I go back to the main display now, you can see that this fella now says 76%. So I personally prefer that. It's a bit easy to understand. Power indicator, you can change from current to power, so that's amps or watts. And essentially what that does is on your display main menu, when you are riding, you can see the little fella, this little fella in the middle here, 0 watts. You can change that to watts or amps, and you can see when we start going, that's how much wattage and so on that we're using. Moving on, we have our light sensor. So essentially what this means is this display has a built-in automatic headlight function that will turn your headlight on from this little light sensor here. So when you're in a dark space, your light will automatically come on, and all you're doing here is you can change the sensitivity of this to high or low, and it's either going to be more sensitive in brighter lights or what have you in the dark. Bottom one here is work mode. Now this is where we can change our motor watt output from 250 watt, 500 watt or max. The reason we have a 500 watt function is because you guys in New South Wales are quite fortunate, you are allowed to use 500 watts. And then max is obviously if you have a 1000 watt motor, that's max is going to open that right up. Or a 750 watt, sorry. Moving on, if we go back here to the next one, we've got advanced, and the pin for that is 1919, and that's got our speed limit function in here, so we can open our speed limit. Keep in mind, same deal again, by opening this speed limit you cannot ride this on public property, so doing so will deem your bike for use on private property only. And we can bump this up to whatever we like, but keep in mind, if your bike's motor is only capable of doing 49 Ks or 50 Ks or whatnot, by going to 60 Ks or what have you is not going to make your bike any faster. It's determined by what your motor is capable of doing. Okay, so I'll bring this one back down to 25 Ks as this is a customer's bike. And I better change the motor output as well, which I'll do that after the video. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. You've obviously got your factory reset information, which just gives you a bit of info on your mileage and all that sort of stuff, which is all pretty straightforward. And exit. So there you have it. The final thing to note is when I pull the brake, you will get this little fella here, this little exclamation mark. That means that your brakes are active. So when you pull the brakes, obviously your motor will not work. If your brake sensors are ever out of adjustment and you have no motor power and that light is on, you know that your brakes are active. Otherwise, that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to let us know or drop a comment on the video. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.